You are not the typical Asian male.
Yeah, but they still make jokes because they go, "Hey, do you like computers?" I'm like, "Yes." Do you like martial arts?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
that's true. That's true. You have some stereotypes, I guess.
I love stereotypes. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Pastor and Wife podcast.
Welcome you to hang out with us today.
I'm Hansel.
I'm Natalie.
Okay, we're going to talk about something that people always wondered about, and it could really be helpful to certain couples out there.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked us to do this subject that we're about to do, and I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, we're talking about how to keep a healthy interracial marriage.
Is that the word we're using?
Oh, multicultural?
Intercultural.
Intercultural.
Yes.
Okay. But we're different races, so it works too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that works. I mean, I don't care, but
Okay. Well,
you got to get the buzzwords.
yeah. I guess we got to start with our backgrounds. So
Yeah.
I'm Filipino, but I was born in the Philippines, but I grew up in America starting at 3 years old.
Yeah. I grew up, I am everything European,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of Native American, but I'm white.
Yeah. You're white
European.
mixed of Norse and Italian and everything.
Yeah, mainly Norwegian and Italian.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of people who marry other people of other races and other cultures have major problems.
Yeah. A lot of marriages have major problems in general. Well, see, should we start with like how we met? And people
Sure.
ask us that too.
Sure.
Because I think and I forget, people listening to the podcast and who don't know us. I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell by our voices. But if you were to look at us, I mean, early on, and I don't know about now, but I think still now, but especially early on, people never put us together.
Yeah.
Because we're just so like stylistically, like we kind of, I mean, we're both casual people, but
Yeah.
like, our styles are different. Whenever we would go out, like, when we were dating and stuff, and we'd go to a restaurant or someplace to eat, we'd walk in and they'd ask you like how many or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they turn to me. We're standing like less than 2 feet away from each other.
Yeah.
Like, oh, can I help you, ma'am? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm with him.
Yeah.
Standing right here. But people just don't. We should go on one of those shows where you have to like guess who's married.
Yeah.
We would win all the time.
Yeah, because they'd never guess.
They'd never guess.
I can tell you why that is, though. It's you see, it was rare in the past for any kind of intercultural or interracial type of marriages, but we see them more now. But for our combo mix, it's usually the husband is the white guy,
Yeah.
and I know why.
And the woman is
Yeah.
Asian or whatever.
Yeah, the
Why is
woman's
that?
Asian.
Why is that?
So it's generally accepted in Asia that a woman could marry outside of her race for economic benefits.
Okay.
But from my experience, for a lot of Asian men, their parents expect them to marry someone of their own race.
Okay.
And then the second thing I think plays a part in it is because of the way Asian men are raised or their behavior. So, American men are generally more outgoing and confident, whereas Asian men are more subdued. It doesn't mean they're
Right.
not strong. It's just they're subdued and quiet.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
So that's perceived by white women as weak or not confident.
Okay.
So it doesn't, at first glance, it doesn't mix well. I guess we were different because when we met, I was in ministry school, and I think I'm more extroverted than a lot of Asian dudes.
You are not the typical Asian male.
Yeah, but they still make jokes because they go, "Hey, do you like computers?" I'm like, "Yes." Do you like martial arts?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's true. That's true. You have some stereotypes, I guess.
I love stereotypes, but anyways, but yeah, for the most part, most Asian men are very quiet. They're smart.
They're more stoic.
Stoic, yeah, more stoic.
And I think of your parents as like kind of quintessential, like, you know, Asian male, female personalities.
Yeah, yeah. My dad is very stoic.
He's like more like my personality.
Yeah, more like you. And my mom is very extroverted and a people person, just thrives on being around people, where my dad, after a few hours of being around people, he just goes to his room.
Yep.
And locks the door or whatever.
Love it.
So that's that. I think that's the case for many, you know, like Asian white couples. I can't speak for others because I don't know, because I'm not black or Hispanic. I do have some Hispanic traits from the Spanish, though.
You do have some Spanish in
Yeah.
you.
So I can understand like Hispanic men.
Hey, that's our commonality. We both have Spanish blood.
Yeah, a tiny bit. But that's why, you know, two of our kids look very mixed. You know, people ask if they're like Greek or something, or some kind of Mediterranean. And then the other two boys, they look white.
They're very fair, and they even
Yeah.
have light brown hair. I mean,
Yeah.
people will tell
Hazel
us that
eyes. Yeah.
I have really strong genes or something. I don't know. Yeah, their eyes are not the dominant dark, deep brown color either.
Yeah.
They're pretty light.
Yeah. So that's
fun.
Yeah. It's you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I was with the two boys that were light skinned and I'm at the grocery, people are like, "Did you kidnap them?" No. But no, that's the thing. So we have to realize we can only speak from our perspective, but there are general, like, essential things we have to understand, and I think that's what we want to hit.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we first got married, I was looking for books and like Christian books on intercultural marriage, and there were not very many in 2010.
Yeah.
There were like 2, I think, that were like faith-based.
Yeah.
And the one I read is Your Intercultural Marriage by Marla, and I can't even pronounce her name, Alu Puisi or something like that. Because she was, I guess, the white girl, and she married. So I don't forgot the culture that she married into, but the first thing she said in her book was that every couple actually is an intercultural couple, maybe not interracial, but intercultural, because and we learned this too in our, you know, marriage premarital counseling, you know, training and stuff, is that no matter if you grow up in the same city, the same race, every family has their own norm that's different from each other. Every family has its own family culture.
True.
So no matter who you marry, you still have to navigate different cultures.
Yes.
Your culture
Yes.
and their culture, and how to mesh those together, how that's going to work.
That's the main thing, because most of the arguments that people get into is because they expect the other person to be just like them.
Yeah. I don't know why we do that.
It's human nature.
It's never true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we found that to be true. Like our first year of marriage, there was a lot of conflict because for us, it was totally two different cultures. Even though I grew up in America, at home, it was definitely Filipino culture. We ate rice every day, almost at every meal. You know, if you didn't eat rice, it wasn't a meal, it was a snack.
Right.
So if you ate spaghetti, just spaghetti.
It wasn't a real meal.
Yeah. And I'm like, and I go to my friend's house and they had spaghetti and bread and stuff. And that was the meal. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense because there's bread.
Right.
You know? But yeah, understanding that the other person comes from a different culture, even though you're the same race, is key.
Yeah. And it takes a while. I don't think we naturally know, like, oh, this is how I do it, and this is, other people may be different, because it's just how you live. It's just so normal
Yeah.
to you. So it takes a little while to figure out what even your norms are. But I think of it as like a Venn diagram. Like I have my circle and my culture, and you have your circle, and it's like you have to figure out how they overlap.
Yes.
And because we both, as being married and having a family, we both get to create our own family culture.
Yes.
In that middle space,
Yeah.
because we don't lose who we are, nor should we.
No.
But we need to create that common ground. We need to decide, things like, our kids spend a lot of time every week with your parents.
Yes.
And I decided pretty early on that, whatever happens at Lola's house stays at Lola's house,
Yeah. For sure.
I'm not going to make rules for her because, I don't know, that's just a decision that I made. And we all make different decisions. But, stuff like that is very helpful to decide, how you live in your cultures.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And it has to be that way. The mode of thinking has to be that way, or else it's conflict all the time.
Yeah, because you'd be fighting and competing against each other instead of finding those places of unity.
Absolutely. I mean, a small example would be if we're eating like Asian food, I like fish sauce. So
Right.
for you guys know what patis is, dude, it's so good. It's the best condiment ever, but you can't stand the smell.
Right.
So I can't like have it near your nose.
Yes, you have to put your sauce on the other side of your plate, not on my side of your plate. So.
Right. But it works. It works. That's cool.
Yeah.
If you think about that too, I experienced that pastoring a church that was predominantly Filipino in its leadership. But in the congregation, it was growing to be more diverse. White people, other Asians, Hispanics. And there was a major conflict.
Yeah.
Because it started off with 100% Filipino. So they were used to a certain culture.
Everyone just kind of understood how that worked without saying anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you introduce people from other cultures because of the gospel. Boom. Instant conflict. And, I remember one of the staff meetings, I had to say, hey, we have to decide what we want to do. If this is a predominantly Filipino church with a Filipino culture baked in and it's not going to change, then these people won't feel like they belong here. Or do we take our heritage and try to mesh it with American culture, which is already multicultural, in its workings? Though I do believe that to be unified, we all have to be American.
Yeah.
Right. But
well, it's kind of, and we can come together under kingdom culture.
There you go.
Which is,
there you go.
And I think the issue now, the one genius, brilliant book that I read about cultures and navigating different cultures and learning about each other is the book Foreign to Familiar. It's a thin little book, and it's brilliant. And the premise of this book is that no way of doing things is right or wrong.
Yeah.
And so we can't make judgments on my way is the right way, and because your culture's ways is the wrong way.
Yes.
It's just different.
It's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, there's a caveat to that. I do think some cultures are better. Like the culture of what's happening in Haiti now is bad.
Okay.
Yeah. It's inferior because crime is normal. It's expected.
Okay.
And
but I mean, is that
do...
innate Haitian culture, or is that just...
No, I don't think so. I think that's a product of poverty and different things, but it has become culture. So I'm not saying like there's not a difference in morality between cultures, but what we're saying is when two cultures come together, what we have to do is create a new culture. And the most brilliant thing about being a Christian is we have a guidebook called the Bible on how to act. But for us, I am so happy we both read that book and we were both missionaries.
Yeah, we both had gone to lots of different countries and experienced lots of different cultures. And I mean, I think I do have certain like personality characteristics and just certain like openness and the adaptability thing where I could be super flexible. And if I didn't have that, it would be very difficult, I think.
Yeah, we wouldn't have gotten married because my mom. If you want to be in a relationship with my mom,
You have to go with the flow.
you have to be super flexible. This
Yeah.
reminds me of my mission trips to both Fiji and the Philippines. China was different. China, it's Asian too, but it's very hustle and bustle, like a New York City type.
More city.
Yeah, but in the Philippines, even in the city, and Fiji, I think is even more so. Even city people, it's go with the flow. Like I told my American missionary friends that came with me, I go, okay, this is not America.
Yeah.
You can't expect things to go to plan here. If the plan goes awry, you make the best of it because most of the time it won't follow what we've written down.
Yeah.
What we wrote down, it's not going to be that. So allow the Holy Spirit just to do whatever he wants to do in the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
And it works out. The people that followed that rule loved it.
Yeah.
They loved the people. We got to share the gospel a lot. The people that weren't flexible enough to understand that, they had a terrible time.
Yeah.
They complained all the time. I remember there was a guy that was just complaining it was so hot and muggy in the Philippines, and I'm like, do you know where this country is on the globe?
I know.
Bro?
You can't complain about the weather.
You cannot. It's going to
nothing
be
you can
like
do about
this,
that.
bro. Like, let me get you some coconut juice, bro. Let me get you some,
Yeah.
let me spray some water on your face or something. But that pertains to marriage as well. Like, if I'm not trying to change you, we all have room for improvement, but I'm not trying to change you and you're not trying to change me. I think that is one of the keys as well.
Yeah, I have to respect the way that you grew up and that you have certain ways of doing things and certain things that you like. And I can't say that that's wrong or that my way is better. So we just have to work together to make it work.
Yeah. I have another example of that. Like when I was in ministry school, I lived in a house with like 6 other guys. And we had one dude that was in charge. He was from Hawaii. So I became friends with him real quick because we have a similar type of island.
Yeah.
Go with the flow type attitude. And then my roommate, though, he was from Denmark. So everything was on time and
Yes,
everything had a
efficient
purpose,
and
efficiency. Yeah.
Purposeful, yeah.
So we had dishes that were dirty and, my Hawaiian friend wanted us to wash the dishes. He was in charge of the house, and then use the dishwasher as a drying rack.
Okay.
That's the way my mom does it.
Right.
It's not to wash dishes; it's to
It's
dry
the
dishes.
dry dishes. It's the drying rack. That's
And
funny.
so, my other roommate from Denmark, he was like, "Let me calculate how much water we use washing by hand versus the dishwasher, and then we'll see the quality of the cleanliness after." And he did all that, and we use less water with the dishwasher.
Okay.
And if we wipe a little bit after, like wipe all the stuff that wasn't like really clean, and it
kinda
wasn't that
touch-up.
much, touch-ups, it was just as clean.
Right.
So he used logic and math to
Yep.
determine that we should use the dishwasher.
Yeah.
And my Hawaiian friend didn't believe him. And I was like, whoa, this is a cultural difference.
Yeah,
you know?
it is. That's funny.
In our Western culture, we would say, "Oh, you're so stupid doing this and that," and but I understood my Hawaiian friend because I grew up with my mom. You can't just use facts with him.
Right.
You're right.
Because the logic and the facts and the because efficiency is not necessarily a goal.
No, it's not a goal of him,
Right.
of his. The goal is unity, harmony.
Yes.
So what I had to do was say, "Hey, man, like let's try it his way, even though you don't believe. Let's try it his way, and I think we'll be happy. And then if you want to wash your dishes, you can wash your dishes."
However you want. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what I did was appeal to his longing for unity and harmony.
And harmony,
And so he said, okay, let's try it. And he would still wash his dishes and then put it in to dry. But the rest of us, I mean, everybody else was white except for me and him. And so I did the dishwasher way with all the white dudes. And I was fine with that because I hate washing dishes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like,
I know
cool.
you do.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is cool, like, and it worked out because when the bill came, and you see, I knew him. I knew my Hawaiian friend because he was very frugal.
Yes.
He didn't like spending money. So when he saw that, it clicked. He was a believer. He was like, oh, okay. So we worked it out. Like, I feel comfortable just washing the dishes, but you guys just put it in the dishwasher and turn it on. We can do that. And everybody was happy. Everybody was like, okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
So we got to figure out when someone comes from a different culture, a different background, we got to find out what's important to them.
Yeah, we have to speak the same language. And not just the same language, but the same language.
Correct.
Because if, Denmark friend were to just keep pushing the facts, it's the wrong language.
He would ruin the
not his
relationship.
language.
Yeah.
Right. You have to present in a way that he will understand, So you have, it's learning a different language.
Definitely.
It's difficult.
Definitely. And that's the thing is like some cultures are direct communication and other cultures are indirect communication.
Yep.
And so we all have room for improvement. Like if you're a direct culture person, to try to communicate with someone else from a different culture, it would behoove you to learn indirect communication. And then if you're from an indirect culture, it would behoove you to learn direct communication.
And not to be offended by either one.
And that's the key.
And generally, cold climate cultures and like city cultures are generally more direct. And then island, rural areas are generally, and hot climate cultures.
Hot climate,
More indirect.
More indirect.
Like when you and your mom talk and you're like making plans about something.
Yeah.
Or you're making a decision about something. I literally cannot understand what you're saying. I can understand the words that you're saying, but like you'll end your conversation and you'll both know what was decided, and I have no idea what was decided.
Yeah, because it goes like this in a circle and then comes back around.
It really is a skill, and I don't think I'm good at it yet.
No, you're not good at it, but I don't expect you to be good at it. You can understand. I think for you to understand that that's what is going on is good enough.
Okay. I'm hopeless.
Yeah. When I talk to my mom about plans, she will talk about everything but the specific details of the plans.
Yeah.
And then somehow get to the details within the conversation of the tangents.
Yeah.
And then come to a conclusion. So it's a very Eastern way of thinking.
That's true too. And the Eastern way is very circular. The reasoning is circular reasoning, and Western is
Linear.
What's the word? Linear.
Yeah.
Yes.
And direct. And so people have different preferences. Like if you talk to my mom too direct, she think you don't really like her.
Yeah, she thinks
you don't
you're
understand.
mad at her or something.
Yeah, you might be mad at her.
And then, if she understands me, I think, better over the past 15 years. And so we can communicate better than, but I've had to change the way I communicate too, and the modes of communication and the timing and all that stuff.
Well, I had to explain to her.
Yeah, it takes that too, understanding.
If you want her to understand something, you have to say it plainly and not tell like a 30-minute story to explain it. Because she will.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I just want to point out, like the reason why indirect communication is important is because culturally, it's the whole feeling of the people communicating is the highest priority to maintain a good feeling. So friendly facts aren't always friendly. The facts are cold. So in direct communication, facts are the highest value.
Right.
And communicating information. The information is the highest value. So
it's the difference between a scientist and a poet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in our marriage, we had to work through some of that. You know, like you come from a more direct culture, and you always hate it when I infer something that wasn't there.
Yes. Like, I don't know how many times I've said, I say what I mean. The words is my meaning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how to speak any other way.
And I get frustrated when you don't understand some body language or facial expressions.
Yeah,
sometimes.
or a statement that has another meaning that is really obvious to you and is not to me.
So we worked that out because over the years, because I have to understand that when you say something, it's exactly what it means. So a very Greek mindset. And then for me, if I have a different connotation, I might say the same words, but I have a different connotation. It totally means something else, which is a very Hebrew type of language.
Yeah.
So it's East and West together, and we're creating a new normal, and that's important for you guys who are married, that are from multicultural places, and if you have a multicultural marriage, you need to understand that. And so, in America, we're very individualistic,
Yeah.
right? And in the East, it's very focused on the group.
Yeah, so that's another cold culture, hot climate culture difference. It's cold climate culture. And you can also say East and West in general, but
East and West,
yeah, is individualistic, and then group culture is very important for hot climate culture.
And so, like in the context of marriage, we can't change that about a person. What we have to do is we have to learn about the other person and adapt.
Yeah.
And I think we've done a great job.
I think it's really fun to create our own culture.
Yeah.
Our own family, culture. It's great.
Yeah, because the extreme individualistic type of culture and the extreme group culture are both wrong. If you don't take in context of the way other people live. For example, when you become too individualistic, right? Like in America, then you have DEI. You have all this woke culture where it's about me, and there's conflict.
Yeah, because everyone has a different me.
Yeah, different me. That's, LGBTQ rights over, other people's rights, and or racial rights over other people's rights. It's all about rights. Now you got major conflict. And then on the other end of the spectrum, where it's all about the group, then the individual loses rights. Like in communism, where if you're just a pleb, you're just a normal person, you don't have rights. It's only the elite that have rights.
Right.
Because they hold the sword of Damocles over you. If you speak up about some injustice that just pertains to you or a small group of people, they say you're causing divisiveness for the whole.
Right. That's true. That is very cultural, isn't it?
And that's why, communism really thrived in China, because it's very group oriented. Well, it's weird now because it's come full circle in America, because communism is attractive to the hyper individualistic people who became a hive mind somehow.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's the things we have to work through. And so what's great about individualism is that you can be you and I can be me. And it's okay. No worries. Live and let live, right? What's great about the group culture is that I will sacrifice something of myself for another person or the group of people.
For the best for chance for the group as a whole.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I believe if you read the Bible, especially the New Testament, that's exactly the culture they were creating, was taking both good parts of those two things and putting them together.
Yeah.
And discarding the things that are wrong. I have good old James here, who was Jesus's brother. James 2, 1 through, I got to read the whole thing for it to make sense, 1 through 13. Now, people have to understand that the Gentiles that they were around had a Western culture, and then the Jews that became Christians as well had an Eastern culture. And so there was a lot of conflict in the early church, in the first century church. And so the apostles had to create a new culture called the kingdom of God, which I believe is why our marriage is strong, is because of the kingdom of God, because of the teachings of Jesus. So James 2, verse 1 through 13 says, "My brothers, show no partiality as you hold to the faith in our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory. For a man wearing a gold ring and fine clothing comes to your assembly," goes to your church, "and a poor man in shabby clothing also comes in. And if you pay attention to the one who wears the fine clothing and say, 'You sit here in a good place,' while you say to the poor man, 'You stand over there,' or 'Sit down at my feet,' have you not then made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts?"
Right.
That's a strong statement. Evil thoughts. Okay. Verse 5, "Listen, my beloved brothers, has not God chosen those who are poor in the world to be rich in faith and the heirs of the kingdom, which he has promised to those who loved him? But you have dishonored the poor man and are not rich, not the rich ones who oppress you. Are not the rich ones who oppress you and the ones who drag you into court? Are they not the ones who blaspheme the honorable name in which you are called?" Verse 8, "If you really fulfill the royal law according to Scripture," here's the royal law, you guys, "you shall love your neighbor as yourself. You are doing well. But if you show partiality, you are committing sin and convicted by the law as transgressors. For whoever keeps the whole law but fails at one point has become guilty of it all.
Of all, yeah.
For he who said, 'Do not commit adultery,' said also, 'Do not murder.' If you commit adultery but do murder, you have become a transgressor of that law. So speak and act as those who are to be judged under the law of liberty. For judgment without mercy to the one who has shown no mercy, because mercy triumphs over judgment." Wow. For our Western mindset, that's a little bit tough.
It is, yeah. It's not very logical.
It's not very logical. So there you have two groups, and you can apply this to marriage. You can kind of say, well, I'm more high context culture or cold climate culture, and I'm more hot climate culture. He's talking about like status there, like social status. So you can be a poor Jew or a Pharisee who are rich, who controlled the law, or you can be, a regular Gentile, a worker, a poor Gentile, or you can be a Roman centurion who was very rich as well. And so they all came together in one place to worship.
Right.
And so I really take this to heart in our marriage because, I don't want to have evil thoughts. I don't want to have, look at you and judge you without mercy, because mercy triumphs over judgment.
Just because you have a perception of what your normal is and you're making judgments on me for mine when it's not equal grounds for judgment.
That's right. And James was the pastor of the church in Jerusalem, which was very multicultural at the time. And so he had to figure out a way to get everybody to be in harmony. So James, coming from a Jewish culture, that would be very important to him. But what I believe God showed him was, hey, these rich people or these Gentiles or these, rich Jews that would come in, you would have to teach them that looking down on a poor brother is wrong. Looking down on someone with a different culture is wrong. And there's a lot not said in the Bible, like a lot of details. But I'm sure it worked because the church grew exponentially. One, through the power of Jesus. That's true. But I think the power of Jesus gives you the wherewithal to create a culture that's like the kingdom of heaven.
Like valuing the individual, but also sacrificing, making your own sacrifices, volunteering to sacrifice some of your, preferences for the good of the group, the good of the kingdom, the church, or But see, that's why I learned that concept, because and you tell the story all the time when we first met, like when we went to the same church, we met at church.
Yes.
And at the end, the young adult group would try to decide where to go to eat. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people would be like, I don't really feel like Mexican, so I'm just going to do my own thing, or I can't afford this. And there are people who would try to make a decision so everyone's happy. And then it was a real struggle.
Oh man. So the leaders were trying to be very group oriented because they wanted everybody to go to lunch together.
Yeah. And some of the members were just more, individualistic or something. And they just wanted to make their own decision. And that was fine with them, but we're trying to bring everyone together. And it was a big ordeal.
Yeah, it was.
Every week.
It really made me angry. I was really perturbed because now the goal was destroyed. You know what I mean? Because of indecision.
Right. And if you don't make a decision, if you try to please every individual, you will never make a decision.
That's right. So what I did was I said, guys, I'm going to this place, and if you want to come. If you don't, that's fine. So for the individuals, they get to choose. Yeah. For the people who wanted to just be around people, they would come.
Yeah.
First, it was just you. That's how I got to know you. It was just you and me at first, and then other people would start coming. Mm-hmm. But I think that's what's needed is, well, first, I have a leadership gift, and so I had to do something. Yeah. I had to have a solution.
And I think because of your Filipino culture, but also growing up in American culture, I think you understand both sides.
I do.
And you also have family in cold climate culture region of the country.
Yes.
Which you would visit it, and you're just quick to learn, other languages, quote unquote. But the group culture I learned in church.
Yes.
Through Christianity.
Yes, absolutely.
Because, the Bible teaches us to lay down our own life for other people.
Yes,
I mean, this going out to lunch is not that dramatic, but within a church body, you have so many different people, and I'm not just gonna. I don't know. I'm just somehow I learned somewhere along in there that it's selfish of me just to do what only I want. Mm-hmm. I have to lay down some of my preferences to be with the group.
Yeah.
Because I value the group as a whole, and I go to church to be in community with people.
Yes.
And I'm an introvert, and I'm done after church. It's a lot for me. But I go to church and I value that, and I put myself in, and I do mom's night out, stuff like that. And I make myself be with people because I value community.
Yeah.
And I know that even as an introvert, I need time in a group with people. With other believers, with other friends, with people. People are still important to everyone, no matter who you are. And for me, a lot of times, that's an act of service.
Yeah.
And I have to do that. And I always benefit from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you said active service because in marriage counseling, so we do quite a number of that. We spend some time doing marriage counseling for people. And we always go back to the scriptures. In Ephesians, it talks about how marriage is supposed to be. And everybody focuses on the wives submit to husbands, right?
Yeah.
But
the S word.
Yeah. And it's not a bad one. Submission means service, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but what people don't understand, the verse right before that in Ephesians, it talks about how we submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. And then it goes, wives submit to husbands, and then husbands love your wives. So to me, that's a great picture of taking the individualistic culture and the group culture together, because in general, I'm not saying individuals, but in general, men are more individualistic and women are more about the group. Men aren't usually afraid of conflict. They just want a solution to the problem. Yeah. Whereas women, when they
have to go to the bathroom together.
Yeah, they have to go to the bathroom together and talk about it. they're more concerned about harmony of the group. So in marriage, I had to understand that. I had to say, if I were to love you, I would have to understand that first, that you would have to feel safe to be able to submit or to serve me.
Right.
And for you, you would have to learn to respect me for me to love you. And I think it's beautiful. And it works. It works in every relationship. You know, going back to the church, that's something we have to work out, because Southern California is very, very individualistic, but also multicultural.
Yes, that's true.
And it's a very difficult thing to do. I mean, even before we got married, I got prophesied that I would lead a multicultural church. And then when we were married, then we got way more.
Yeah. It helps that we are multicultural.
Yeah. So in this microcosm of marriage, we can apply that to a bigger group of people. And it's kingdom.
Yeah,
it
it's
won't
kingdom.
be the other way around. I love, I used to listen to sermon jams. It's old. It's like
I remember
preachers,
that.
like,
I remember
and they
that.
put
That's
like
cool.
hip hop beats to preachers preaching. And I remember one sermon jam, and I forgot which preacher it was, but he was saying,
it the Scottish guy, or
might have been, that's Alistair Begg. Like,
he was cool.
He was cool. Now he's like wishy-washy on LGB. But anyways, there was one that just really struck a chord in me, where he goes, yeah, when we all get to heaven, is it all the Presbyterians are going to be on the mezzanine balcony, and all the charismatics are going to be on the floor dancing away, and all the Baptists are going to be sitting in the pews reading their Bibles while we're worshiping Jesus? He's like, no, we're going to be all intertwined.
Yeah.
You know, the sound of many waters, the Bible says that we are, men, women, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, all one. All our individual traits are now in one group, in one accord, worshiping the one who created it all. And, you know, I think about that in our marriage when we have conflicts. I try to go, okay, so she's different. And I have to remember that we both worship Jesus. And I think that fixes a lot of problems.
Yeah, and there's that picture of not being face-to-face fighting against each other, but rather being shoulder-to-shoulder.
Yeah.
Fighting against, you know, outside forces that are against unity in our marriage, and in, you know, if you're talking about church and the body of Christ too, or any group.
Absolutely.
So,
I think for those of you guys that are struggling with intercultural marriage, you should start off with the marriage as a group, meaning
what do you mean by that?
a team. And we should focus on what keeps the team together first.
That's a good picture, because each team member has a different function and a different strength and a different role.
Yes.
But they're all playing for the same goal.
Right, exactly. And if any of you guys, you know, husbands are called to be the head of the household, that doesn't mean you're the dictator of the household. It means you're called to love.
You're not the coach,
serve.
you're the team member.
You're a team member. But you can have a takeaway from sports. You can. A good leader in sports, like a playing coach or someone that's on the field, will know each team member's strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. And they bolster the strength. So that's a very different concept of instead of just harping on the weaknesses, you bolster the strength of the weak member, and you integrate them with their strength into the goal. Which is winning.
Because when one person wins, everyone wins. Because you want to win. You want to... You can't fight against each other if you want to win. Because then you won't win.
Exactly. Jesus said, house divided cannot stand, right? Yeah. And so I want to encourage the men, think about it that way. You know, if your wife is totally different from you and it's hard to understand her, first think about your goal is the marriage to be strong and last. last till you die, till death do us part. Once you got that, your only options is to understand. And I feel like correct me if I'm wrong, when a woman feels understood, she's able to adapt. She's able to do things that she couldn't do before. And that's why the Bible says, the husband should wash the woman and sanctify her with the washing of the word. And the word, yes, it means the logos, the Bible, but the Bible connotates love your wife as Christ loved the church. And so when you love your wife like Jesus sacrificed everything so the church can be in relationship with him. And so if you can do that as a husband, you'll be happy with your wife.
Yeah. I was just thinking about like the being understood part, because that is a big, that's why we talk, and sometimes it's like, we call it venting or whatever, which depends on what you mean by that, like if we are if we feel understood, then it's like the problem doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah. And
I'm really task oriented. I'm really solution oriented. I'm a fixer too. I get it. But there is that part of me that's like, if you just understand me, that's how I'm partially fixed. Like that will help fix me.
100%.
That's true.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. And, I hate to speak for the woman, but today's culture does not honor the husband anymore. All the TV shows talk about how stupid the father is and this and that. And there has to be a restoration of respecting the husband, because we've talked about it here before, about many professional women we knew when their husbands were yes men, they ultimately got disgusted. Yes.
Yeah. You lose respect for someone who just agrees with you and has no spine. That's not fun. That's not fun for very long.
No, not at all. And so I think my final word of advice is that you stick to the Bible, create a new culture in your multicultural or intercultural marriage, create a kingdom culture.
Have value for the person who's different from you.
And then move forward and really create something that's never been seen before.
Yeah.
Very unique, but God honoring at the same time, and you'll do well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we covered a lot today.
Yeah, we did.
I love this one. This is great.
It's
and
fun.
I hope it's helpful for people out there that need the advice and the tips, pro tips.
Pro tips.
Yeah.
From the pros.
Hey, how long have we been married?
14 and a half years.
14 and a half years. That's pro status. 14 years of in the trenches. So we're approaching 20 years, and it's great. It's a great journey.
Yeah.
It's
worth it.
Yeah, it's very worth it. So you guys, I hope that I hope you like that and that was valuable to you. Godspeed and God bless. Bye.
Bye.